is question 29. If u is minus 5 plus 12i and w is 8 plus 10i are two complex numbers, which complex number is nearer the origin? Justify your answer. Just so we're up to date with this, guys, okay? Minus 5 plus 12i means 5 across and 12 up. So that'd be minus 5 plus 12i. The other one is 8 plus 10i, which means 8 across and 10 up, which would be up here. Now what I'm basically asked is, can you prove that the green line is longer than the blue line? How do you figure out which one's longer? Okay, the distance back to your origin. The way we do that is using the modulus formula. The modulus formula is the square root of the real part squared plus the imaginary part squared. Okay. Now, real part squared plus imaginary part squared. Now the real part of u is what, guys? Minus 5 squared plus 12 squared, and most people got what for that? 13, right? Now for w, we get what's it, a squared plus 10 squared. What's a squared plus 10 squared? 12.81. So it's easiest to see that u is the one that's further away. So as an example, the green line is longer than the blue line, but not by much, by 0.2. Very little in the difference. Now that question 29 is dealt with, what we're looking at now is question 35. If the modulus of a plus ki is the same thing as 10, find two values for k. Yeah. Now, you get 8 squared plus k squared equals 10. Now, I want everybody to pay very close attention to this, okay? If I have the square root of 5 squared, what can you tell me that is? What would that be on its own? The answer would be 5, wouldn't it? Because the square and the square root basically undo each other, don't they? Yeah? If I really did it out, it would be square root of 25, and that would turn it back into 5. So basically, when you have a square inside a square root, whatever is at the bottom of it is going to be the answer, because they basically undo each other. Now, what some people would also think then is that if I had the square root of this, 3 squared plus 2 squared, if I had that, some people think that's the same thing as this here. They're not actually the same thing, because basically you can only do that trick when there's only one thing inside the square root sign. Okay? Do you see the way this one here has two things inside the one square root? See the way it's 3 squared plus 2 squared? Well, the other one only has a 3 squared in it and a 2 squared. So they're actually not, they look alike, but they're actually completely different. The answer to this one, the bottom one, is 3 plus 2, which equals 5. The answer to this one, however, is the square root of 9 plus 4, which equals root 13. Although they look alike, they behave differently. So, when you're at this question here, you cannot put down a plus k. The safest way to do it, and the way that will make the least amount of errors, is don't do anything fancy. Just square it out. And then when you get to this stage here, now and only now do you square both sides. Have we got that? Square both sides. And when you square both sides, what happens to the square root? The sign disappears, and you're just left with that there, equals to 100. And then what happens next? Bring it over to your side. I'm going to bring the 100 over. I'll do the difference of two squares. 64 minus 100, guys. Minus 36. K squared minus 36 equals 0. Anybody suggest the next part of that? Difference of two squares. If you have something squared with a minus in between it, and then you have a number that's a squared number, you can change that number into x k squared minus 6 squared, because 6 squared is 36. And then there's a formula from 5th year algebra that we've done basically dozens of these questions. So that's how you finish off them. K equals 6 or K equals minus 6. Everybody right with that? Okay. Does everybody... The modulus of a squared plus ai equals the modulus of 1 minus 7i. Let's figure out this, okay? So what's the modulus of the one on the left, which I'm underlining in red? What would be a good way of doing that one? What do I put in the brackets? And the other one? A. Now, what do I do to the other one? And minus 7 and 1. Put that into the calculator. Now, some people were telling me if I put that into the calculator, what turns out is you get a different number than the number I put down. Some of you are getting weird numbers, as in you'll get this. Some of you got 5 root 2, yeah, and I've been writing that down as I write that down as root 50. Now they're actually the same number. They're the same number as each other, because what's 1 squared plus 7 squared? If I take away the square root sign, then it's, look what happens. If I take away the square root sign, it's actually 50. So root 50, and what does it give it to me if I do put in the square root sign? If I put in the square root sign, it will give me 5 root 2. They're actually the same number, okay? So for argument's sake, let's say somebody had 5 root 2 on the other side, okay? What's a squared plus a squared? 2a squared, okay? Now, one person has root 50, the other person is using 5 root 2, yeah? What happens when you square both sides? When you square that, what does it get rid of? Just leaves you with 2a squared. What happens when you square root 50? 50. Now, and then on this side you're going to have 2a squared. Now, what happens when you square 5 root 2? You just go to your calculator and you write in 5 root 2. And you just square it out anyway. And you'll still see that you'll end up with the same equation, no matter which way you did it. So some people might have went this way, some people might have went this way, but the bottom line is all roads lead to the same destination, okay? Divide by 2 and you get a squared equals 25. And then after that, guys, what do you think your answers can be? A equals 5 or minus 5. Some of you might have done the difference of two squares, which we need to practice. And you would have said a squared minus 5 squared equals 0. You would have said a plus 5, a minus 5 equals 0. And then you say a equals minus 5, a equals plus 5. Now, I'm aware some of you are going, the difference of two squares looks so much more hassle. Why would you ever think of doing that? They can ask you a factorized question, which is, if I gave you this on its own, if I asked you to factorize a squared minus 25, because it's not a solved question, you have to do the difference of two squares to get your answer. And the answer to a factorized question would be a plus 5, a minus 5. There's no a equals in a solved answer. So please remember, you do actually need the difference of two squares. So it's not just me making it longer than it seems to be. Okay, guys.